Welcome to Arkansas Wildlife. It's all about trout fishing this week. We're headed up to Mountain Home for the annual Sowbug Roundup. We're going to visit Wapsi Fly right there in Mountain Home, the world's largest wholesale distributor of fly tying materials. A little later in the show, we're going to meet Son Tao, one of the featured fly tyers at this year's Sowbug Roundup, and he's going to share his journey into the world of fly tying. We're also going to check in with Arkansas Game and Fish Commission trout biologist Christy Graham, who's going to give us an update on some new trout fishing regulations on the Bull Shoals and Norfork tailwaters. We're headed to the 21st annual Sowbug Roundup in Mountain Home. There's probably nothing more picturesque in the sport of fishing than a perfectly executed fly cast. The lure of catching that trophy trout draws fishermen from all over the world to North Arkansas's Bull Shoals and Norfork tailwaters. But casting isn't the only art form associated with fly fishing.
The big browns, they really like it.
This weekend, the craft of fly tying takes center stage at the annual Sowbug Roundup in Mountain Home.
The Sowbug Roundup is a fly fishing and fly tying show. It's called the Sowbug Roundup because sowbugs are one of the prime sources of food for the trout in the White Norfork rivers. We bring in fly tyers from all over the U.S. and often we have them from outside the country. We've had them from UK, Denmark, Sweden, and so on. And they come here for 3 days and tie flies. And people come in and other fly fishermen and fly tyers come in and sit down and watch them do it and talk to them about it.
Now in its 21st year, the Roundup brings together fly fishing enthusiasts of all ages and skill levels to share tips and techniques.
If you've never been fly fishing and are interested, you come to Sowbug Roundup and you can learn about fly tying, you can learn about fly fishing and fly casting. We give classes in fly tying, we give classes in fly fishing. We have seminars in all aspects of fly fishing. You learn a little bit about everything. You won't learn everything, but you may get excited to continue if you've never done it before.
The Roundup serves as a fundraiser for the North Arkansas Fly Fishers Club, which also makes a point to give back to the community.
The revenue we get in the Sowbug Roundup pays for about $10,000 a year in college scholarship. Last year we paid for a pavilion at the new McCabe Park in Mountain Home. So we do a lot of good things with our money.
Son Tao, one of this year's featured fly tyers, had the chance to attend a bigger event, but chose instead to return to the Sowbug Festival because of the people and, of course, the fishing.
Well, I chose the Sowbug because of friends that I've made here and then just enjoying, northern Arkansas. People that enjoy fly fishing, that enjoys tying, people that are starting, people that have been doing it for a long time. It doesn't really matter. It brings everybody together regardless of race, religion, background, social status, and you get to talk to everybody and meet people, and it doesn't matter where you come from. And that's the beauty behind the tying and attending these shows. It does not matter whether you're poor, you're rich, you're middle class, where you live. It doesn't matter. Everybody there is for one specific reason, which is the tying. And that's what makes events like the Sowbug special.
Arkansas Wildlife is brought to you in part by Academy Sports and Outdoors. For all, for less. Fly tyers at the Sowbug Roundup use all types of material to create their works of art. From chicken feathers to squirrel tails, each fly has its own unique characteristics. And there's a high probability these colorful supplies came from this business right here in Mountain Home, the Wapsi Fly Company.
Wapsi is the world's largest wholesale distributor of fly tying tools and materials.
Wapsi was founded in 1945 in Independence, Iowa. After the company sold in the mid-1970s, new owner Tom Schmucker decided to make a move.
And it's kind of a funny story how he did that. He looked at a map, saw that there was a bunch of water in this area, put a cup on the map, and drew a circle around the cup. And within that area was Branson, Harrison and Mountain Home.
The rise to the top of the fly tying world hasn't always been easy.
This building was almost destroyed by fire in the mid-'80s. And in fact, almost everything was just torched and destroyed. So Wapsi has been built up back since then. And now we're probably we are the world's largest wholesale distributor, but we do most of the dyeing and processing of natural and synthetic materials for the entire fishing industry.
The company now has customers across the globe.
We have about 2,500 retail customers worldwide who buy our products. And you can see on our board here we have customers from the UK, another from the UK, from Canada, from Norway, Russia. All over the world we send products. We also sell a lot of products to big box retailers. And big box retailers being Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, LL Bean, Orvis.
But Wapsi is strictly a wholesaler. The company doesn't sell direct to the customer or to online-only retailers.
We sell to about 1,500 domestic fly shops. Essentially, we have two wholesale catalogs that we sell through. Our Wapsi catalog is where we have all our fly tying tools and materials, and then we have a second wholesale catalog, which is called our Angler's Image catalog, and that's fly line, leaders, tippet material, and items of that nature. On the left are items that are in our Angler's Image catalog, and the items on our right are items which are primarily in our Wapsi catalog.
Controlling inventory in-house is one of the secrets to their success.
Unlike other facilities, since we do most of the dyeing and processing, we can just take a look and see what we need, and that very day dye it or produce it or package it and get it right back on the shelf. So our fulfillment rate is in the upper 90 percentile, and we've been able to maintain that for a number of years. That's one of the reasons why we've had the repeat business that we've had.
The walls of the product room give you a small glimpse of the variety of items Wapsi produces.
We have over 10,000 products, so this doesn't even scratch the surface as to what we have. But it's just kind of a neat area. I think most people like to just come back here and just sit. Whenever we give a tour, it's hard to get people out of here.
Wapsi also manufactures most of the fly tying kits for the industry's biggest names.
If you've seen a kit from Bass Pro Shops, from Cabela's, from Orvis, from Gander Mountain, more than likely it was made right down here.
From the world's biggest retailers all the way to the tables at the Sowbug Roundup, the Wapsi Fly Company continues to fly high in the fishing world.
We're proud of what we do, and we're blessed to have been able to do this. And Mountain Home, Arkansas is a great place to have this sort of a business.
All you do is basically tie it in and then wrap.
Compared to many of the featured fly tyers at the annual Sowbug Roundup, Son Tao isn't the most experienced behind the vise. But even though he's only been tying for 2 years, he has quickly gained a reputation as an expert craftsman.
A lot of it has to do with the background, where I started off as an artist when I was in high school. But in the 90s, art didn't pay the bills, so my parents made sure that I chose a different major when I went to college. So I took up electrical engineering, and then I worked at RCA. Between the art and working with the engineering background, it makes fly tying a little bit easier because I could see a fly and I reverse engineer the fly right in my brain. It also helps I see 2010. Tying on, size 18, 20 hooks, not difficult because I don't need any magnifiers.
It doesn't hurt that he's an unabashed perfectionist.
If I tie on something and I didn't do it exactly the way it should be done, I just undo it and I redo it until I get it right.
Tao's precision at the vise has earned him numerous industry sponsorships and nearly 14,000 Instagram followers. But fly tying has done much more than that for Tao.
I can honestly say that it probably saved my marriage and my life, because at the path that I was going down, it was going to lead to nothing but destruction.
A master sergeant in the U.S. Army, Tao has been deployed 6 times to combat zones. He has received 2 Purple Hearts for combat injuries that resulted in 11 surgeries on his legs and back, 3 years ago, while stationed in Hawaii, post-traumatic stress disorder caught up with him.
Over the course of each deployment, you end up having a lot of basically demons and so that builds up inside of you. Me having all these deployments under my belt, I had a lot of problems sleeping and a lot of anxiety issues, and the tying helped me refocus my brain into the aspect of wrapping thread and materials versus thinking about other silly stuff. And ever since I started doing that, I've been able to sleep much better. I've been a much easier going person, friendlier person, and better husband, better father.
Tao is no stranger to overcoming life's challenges. Born in Vietnam in 1974, Tao and his family fled the country amid the turmoil of the conflict's final days.
My father was an officer in the South Vietnamese Army, so he was being hunted down with all the other South Vietnamese military personnel. And we escaped to Malaysia, and we stayed on a refugee camp there, Pulau Badong, which is a little island off the coast of Malaysia, for almost 2 years. And during that time there, my parents were trying to find political asylum in other countries that we had family at, and they all said no, but the U.S. said yes. And through the help of a Mennonite family, we ended up emigrating to the United States. First started off in California and then moved closer to that family that helped us out in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Lived the dream, went to high school, graduated from high school, went to college, graduated from college, got a cushy job, able to do whatever I wanted being single and had no bills.
But that all changed on September 11th, 2001.
The World Trade Center, Tower number 1 is on fire. The whole outside of the building, there was just a huge explosion. Send every available ambulance, everything you got to the World Trade Center now.
And my father called me up and said, hey, you need to go join the Army. I was like, what? And he's like, you need to pay back our family's debt to the United States for allowing us to come here, and you're the oldest, so it's your obligation to pay back the family debt. So, in my culture, your parents tell you to do something, you don't tell them no or argue against it. So I went to work and submitted my letter of resignation, and they all thought that I was on drugs or something, but I ended up leaving RCA and enlisted in the Army, and the recruiter asked me what you wanted to do. I was like, well, if I'm going to join the Army, take me where the fight's at.
Based on his armed services aptitude test, Tao had his choice of Army jobs. He chose infantry.
They tried to get me nuclear engineering and linguist and all these other high-speed stuff, and I was like, no, put me where the fight's at. And I enlisted in the infantry. And so, right off the bat, deployed right away off over to Afghanistan, Iraq, and it was like back to back to back, and 17 years later, still in.
Tao is at peace these days. When he isn't training young soldiers, he spends his days raising a family, fishing every chance he gets, and tying impeccable flies at a feverish pace. But reaching this point in his life hasn't been easy.
About 3 years ago, I was stationed in Hawaii, and I've deployed 6 times because I'm active duty Army. And it being in infantry, we're always in the front line where all the battles are. And I've seen a lot of my own soldiers get killed or injured. And myself, I'm a Purple Heart recipient where I've been shot at and have been blown up. So I was going through a lot of my own healing myself with numerous surgeries. Being at the rank that I am, I don't have the luxury of basically breaking down and saying, woe is me. I had soldiers I had to take care of. So always basically putting all my own personal problems hidden inside of me and taking care of all my soldiers that were undergoing the same stressors and PTSD and injuries and mourning loss of their own friends and whatnot. So I had to take care of them all the time. And then as things were winding down and my time in Hawaii was coming to an end, I had about a month left and I was on assignment to come to Indiana. I had more time on my hand, and that's when the realization of all my issues started kicking in. I was drinking real heavily. To make a long story short, I was at a bar, VFW in Hawaii, and there was this Korean vet that had seen me come in there over and over again, and I was basically drinking myself silly. And he kept coming to talk to me, and I just blew him off all the time, and then he brought up the subject of fishing. And that caught my interest because I fished a lot as a kid. He made me wait there at the bar, ran back home, brought the vise, clamped it to the bar itself, and started showing me tying. I was intrigued.
After transferring to a new duty station in Indianapolis, Tao attended an outdoor show and hooked up with the veteran support group Project Healing Waters. He was introduced to a local fly shop that gave him a tying vise and materials, as well as a book that inadvertently speeded his development as a fly tyer.
And then I saw this fly in there, it's called the ginger quill, that I was in love with. It was just a beautiful fly with the natural materials, the peacock quill and the mallard duck wings and the whole 9 yards. So I wanted to tie that fly, went back to the fly shop and got all the materials that were on the list, and didn't realize at that time that that was not a beginner fly by any stretch, because the mallard quill wings is one of the most difficult things to do, but I didn't know, so I felt that I need to learn how to tie this fly. And I ended up buying every single set of duck quills that they had by the time I finally got that fly right. And I ended up tying probably about 50 to 60 of them. Knowing what I know now, that tying that first fly until I got it exactly right actually set me up for everything else afterwards, because every other fly that I ended up tying afterwards was drastically easier. So it worked out in the long run, but it was not, I do not recommend any of those Catskill patterns as a first beginner fly.
Just 2 years later, Tao is making a name for himself as one of the top fly tyers in the country.
It blew up into this huge social media beast that has completely taken me by surprise.
Tao was initially reluctant to talk about his story, but his higher profile has given him a platform to talk about the healing power of fishing and fly tying.
It has brought me a tremendous amount of inner peace, and I know there are a lot of others out there that could use the same help. I can't stress just the importance of organizations like Healing Waters, Warriors, and Quiet Waters, and fly fishing in general. It's just being out here and listening to the water and the birds and catching fish, and you forget everything else.
Tao spends his days molding young people into responsible adults and professional soldiers. And now he wants to use his free time to share his passion for fishing in the hope that it can help others.
Help others, educate others, teach others is one of the, like I said before, one of the big things that I love to do. And now it's a different avenue of me teaching and helping somebody else that is struggling with either military side, with depression, with alcoholism, with PTSD, or somebody that has nothing to do with the military but just want to get into tying and they don't know how or what to do. It basically has become my only hobby that I have, and I love it. It's helping others, and there's no other way that I would prefer to spend my free time besides my kids and my wife than just doing what I love to do.
The Bull Shoals and Norfork tailwaters represent the heart of natural state trout fishing.
They're among the most popular fisheries for trout in the entire state. They bring in a lot of economic revenue to the area and to the state, and they're extremely important in terms of putting Arkansas on the map for trout fishing.
Big trout have put Arkansas on the map in the past, and new regulations for the Bull Shoals and Norfork tailwaters are designed to keep the natural state in the conversation about top trout fishing destinations.
One of the top regulations that we put into effect on January 1st was a regulation that you can only keep one trout over 14 inches during your trip.
The new rule allows anglers to keep 5 rainbow trout less than 14 inches, or 4 rainbows less than 14 inches, and one of the following: a rainbow trout more than 14 inches, a brook trout more than 14 inches, a cutthroat trout more than 24 inches, or a brown trout more than 24 inches.
The overall theme of these new regulations is to support what the public wanted, and that's more big fish to be in the river, while still maintaining quality catch rates for other anglers who want to harvest fish.
The regulations were enacted as part of the Game and Fish Commission's revision of its statewide trout management plan. The new rules are based on ongoing research on the fisheries, as well as input gathered through creel surveys and public meetings.
As managers, we're always very mindful of the fact that we have these different users, and throughout the management plan process, we've been very mindful of the fact that we need to take everybody's opinions into consideration when developing the new trout regulations.
It's all part of the plan to keep these tailwaters healthy and productive for future generations of anglers.
We felt like the whole management plan revisit was a success, and with doing these new regulations for the fishery and getting all the public input, we really feel like they have a lot of potential to succeed. Will require a lot of cooperation from the public, and we're doing a lot of stuff to educate folks about the new regulations, but overall I think people are pleased, and we're very pleased with the new regulations as well.
Arkansas Wildlife presents the Watch and Win Giveaway. During each episode of Arkansas Wildlife, we'll give away an Arkansas resident hunting and fishing license. At the end of this season, we'll be giving away $500 worth of fishing gear with everything you need for outdoor adventures on Arkansas lakes and streams. It's all provided by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Visit the Arkansas Wildlife webpage at arkansaswildlife.com and click on the Watch and Win icon to enter. This week's winner is Kenny Knox from Piercy. Congratulations and thanks for watching.